Well, good afternoon to the sisterhood and to all those who else might be watching. I'm giving this video thing a shot one more time. Give you a glimpse of the garden. Today's objective is to just share with you a little bit about what I'm doing and in the community where I'm at, or location where I'm at. This is the day that they honor their ancestors, the Day of the Dead. So I'm not disrespecting them by not honoring their ancestors. I'm honoring their ancestors by staying probably out of the way. But I am going to share with you a little bit of honoring my ancestors. I'm going to share with you a little bit about a conversation I had with a family member today, which was so appropriate because we don't talk very often or very much over the years. And here recently, we started talking quite a bit and learning about that in between our childhood and adulthood and old age life, some of the incidents that happened in our life. I'm Mama Lynn, and this out here is my grow area. I'm going to pan it around, hope you can see. It is going down, and I'm going to bring it back up with some greens and things for my winter garden. And I call this, or we call this, because my son works with me or does the peppers or whatever he does. Anyway, oh, and the watermelons. Let me not cut him short on that. As we grow in New Mexico. But my channel is audience that I speak to is primarily the everyday Black woman. Anybody else is welcome to listen, but I share sustainable living for the everyday Black woman. And so gardening, of course, is part of sustainable living, but also is knowing about from which you came. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that. My grandfather used to say, when he would be singing, he'd say he was making sweet melodious noise unto the Lord. So I'm going to make sweet melodious noise unto the ancestors. You may not like it. It'll be okay. You can hit the, I don't know, mute button or something. But anyway, here we go. We're going to give this a shot, see how this works out. See if you can see me. I'm going to set this over here, try to adjust the camera. And this is a song that I have modified from a time in my life, a very precious time in my life. And okay, I can't get the camera to set straight. There we go. I think that's it. Let's see. I'm going to adjust it again. And I've been wanting people from that part of my time to record it for me so I could sing it the way that we learned it. But that has not happened. But for the ancestors, I'm going to just sing a little bit of it and then talk with you a little bit. Hopefully I post this, who knows. Okay, these are miniature pumpkins, and I'm just going to pick these while I do this. Right here, ancestors, working with you. Right here, ancestors, working with you. Well, we're right here, ancestors, and we're working with you. Can't do nothing without you by our side. Can't do nothing without you as our guide. Right here at the tape, working with you. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. Right here at the tape, working with you. Well, I'm right here, Big E, and I'm working with you. Can't do nothing without you by my side. Can't do nothing without you as my guide. Right here, Papa, working with you. Yes, I am. Right here, Walter Tate, working with you. Well, I'm right here, Papa, and I'm working with you. Can't do nothing without you by my side. Can't do nothing without you as my guide. Now, I think part of the words I've really learned it is right here, ancestors waiting on you. Right here, ancestors waiting on you. Well, we're right here, ancestors, and we're waiting on you. Can't do nothing without you by our side. Can't do nothing nothing without you ever got. And I ain't gonna sing all to all my ancestors that I know by name, but I am the daughter of Ethel Tate, daughter of Daisy Teet, daughter of Jeanette Teet, daughter of Molly Haynes, great niece of Mary Lee Brock. Mary Lee Tillman Brock. I'm so sorry, Aunt Mary. Okay, all right now. So that's just a little bit of honor to ancestors. Honor to ancestors is also doing this in the garden. I'm going to steam these little pumpkins, and then I'm going to cut the little tops off, take the seeds out, and then I'm going to dehydrate them. And I'm going to make pumpkin powder. Some of them I'm probably going to make, I have to mix it with sweet potato. There's no such thing as pumpkin pie in my vocabulary, my taste buds. But pumpkins are very high in nutrition, and I have a plethora of them. This is the second basket that we got, and I probably got at least a third basket worth of these out here. Probably going to share them in the community as well. But I wanted to share about a conversation I had with a family member today, and we're both veterans and from different times and definitely different experiences. He also, is a veteran and went to war. I was blessed that I didn't have to do that. And we're just sharing just a little bit of our experience. I don't really talk about mine very much, and not too many people know the extent of it, or why I finally qualified to get a check. I should have got a check from immediately got one, but they didn't have it back then. Anyway, but he shared an experience that he had that just brought me to tears. And it was when he was doing a training, and they went to, basically I'm gonna call it a bear base, out up in Utah. And he said it was about 200 of black troops with his unit, or that he was around, and they were supposed to be doing something that involved some exercises where you go out in the field and you practice doing various different things. But it was supposed to be a dry round, which means it was supposed to be no live fire. And he talked about an incident that he went to the little local store there, a little small store, and he went to buy some candy or something when he first got there. And he's looking at the candy and pointing to it, and the guy told him he didn't have none. In other words, he wasn't selling him none. It's like, oh, okay. So when talking to some of the other guys, at some point, he found out that, that they wasn't selling to none of them, the black guys. So, there was white soldiers there as well. Anyway, so they went out in the field, and it was supposed to be, no live ammo. And all of a sudden, they hear all this firing. And it's live ammo because you hear it whizzing by you. And so, he tells everybody to get down, and he manages to, I guess, low crawl up to somebody who's supposed to be in charge, and they said they didn't know what was going on, as if they didn't know, it was live rounds and stuff. Anyway, that went on for a while, and they got out of that situation and got back to the barracks, and they was talking, and so they was trying to figure out who to report this to. And they really didn't have anybody that they felt safe to report this to. Now, you're not even in a war situation. You in a practice, and he very much feels the honor of the flag and the honor of the oath that he took. And you're in this situation, and you're fearful of your life on your own country that you're supposed to fix and go to protect. So the next day, I think it was, anyway, they heard more live rounds. And the white officers and stuff in charge swore they didn't know what they was talking about and whatever. So they finally got word to somebody who was a master sergeant. I think it was a black master sergeant. And he came down, and he tried to play crazy too, like they didn't know what live rounds sounded like. And, it's probably this, it's probably, firecrackers, it's probably blah, blah, blah. So as he's leaving the base, he's in his little cute car, he's leaving. How about somebody shot up his car, made a believer out of him? So he came back and made sure that they were armed. And they had to sleep overnight armed, watching guard over each other at home. It just broke my heart. It just broke my heart. You never know what a person has experienced. I had no idea. He also, went to Desert Storm, and dealt with stuff over there. it's just amazing. I had an experience at a bear base. It wasn't getting shot at, but it was more of a sexual nature. And I was really blessed that I happened to share rooms with the other women. We decided to share a room so to cut costs. And fortunately, that helped. And the sergeant that I had an issue that was over us after he had mentioned it and talked to somebody else, and the master sergeant over that base heard it and brought him up and asked him, he asked me in private, and I told him, what really went down. And he asked him, and he, of course, gave him another story. Long story short, when we got back, I was in Air Force Reserve then. When we got back to our base, oh, they supposedly gave him, some retraining on sexual appropriateness, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he came out with an upgrade in his ranking. I came out with more harassment. And how this how this pertains to our ancestors is that we are our ancestors. That DNA that was my mama's, was my grandma's, and my great grandma's, and grandpa's is in here. And I am them, and they are me. And they are still assisting us in our day-to-day life, going through madness in our lives. Now, my nephew is on one hand is doing good. He told me where he works, the position that he's in, and I was, very proud and everything. And I didn't know because he doesn't really talk about it. But he also talked about the stress of it and, the health negative factors and things, even when you supposed to, he doesn't say arrive, but in my category, arrive, I was very proud that somebody in our family has done that. We don't have a family with a bunch of, folks that have resolved their oppressed challenges through illegal operation situations or anything like that. We don't have that. We just have struggling people who work jobs, who worked for, even the government. My sister was a lab technician and ended up trying to get justice in the lab, ended up being more or less of a whistleblower. And so I hear, after she passed, there was a class action lawsuit. She didn't benefit from it. I don't think they won. But just the fact that this went on. And so, when people wonder why some of us don't have the greatest trust for laboratories and things that are going on, or we're more cautious about stuff, in the military, they mandate you take shots. Now they mandate everybody take shots. But for those who choose not to, there could be reasons. They could have health factors. They could have had a bad experience. They could have somebody in their family who have died from bad experience of trusting. I don't know. Johnson and Johnson is still dealing with the baby powder thing. All these women that had cancer, and some of them even died from it. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about ancestors today. I'm thinking about how their lives relates to the life that I'm living, that you might be living. And one thing that it reminds me of, the reason why we're here today is because they were sustainable. They were resilient and sustainable. And they knew, to make changes when changes was needed, whether it was to relocate or to start doing something different, start eating different, start thinking different, looking out for their children differently. Sometimes they, didn't have a choice but to be that way, because life was so dangerous for their children. One picture that hurts me so when I even think about it, no less when I looked at it, and it was online, it was a magazine, it wasn't personal, immediately personal to me, but it was black babies tied up, used for alligator bait. It hurts me to my core. But then we look at what's happening now, and there's so much similarity to some of the things that are happening now, where children are basically being sacrificed, forced to do things, and being taken. I just listened to a brother who has a YouTube channel, and Leaf, watch me mess it up, and you forgive me. I think I want to say it's 47, and he was talking on there about how the times right now people are in desperate situations more so than previously, and it's the holiday time, and it's a time when people will be taking advantage of the fact that it's getting darker early, and so you have to be careful when you're going shopping, but you also have to be careful about your children. You have to be careful, about letting them roam through the mall by themselves, or you turning your back on it, while you're looking at the price of stuff, and you're supposed to be over here by the basket. Now they up under the clothes, or they somewhere you don't know, but you need to know. You need to know because in desperate time, people do desperate things that they might have just thought about before, or maybe didn't even think about, or just, it's interesting the way there is a hatred in some people for just seeing you. And yet, uh, in black people, and I'll say black women in particular, because we've gone through a lot, and that includes all kind of brutality, which includes sexual, and and that cuts to another place, and forced to have children and forced to feed other people's children on your breasts, and just things like that. That we don't have that level of hatred just because I see you and I see your color. Primarily, we don't. Primarily, we don't. So, we can work in places, we have friends, we can live in places where, you're one of the few, maybe the only black person, and not just have a vengeful, ugly mannerism, attitude, viciousness about you. But we have to be on the lookout because there are people that have that. And so just thinking about my ancestors makes me think about many things. And because my thing is about spirituality and sustainability, I wanted to once again just share some things with you, encourage you today to think about your ancestors, the things that you are grateful for, the blessings that you have, and how they operated during difficult times, and start using some of that knowledge and ability to operate during these difficult times. And if it's not difficult for you, help some sisters and brothers in your community because it's difficult for somebody. I promise you. You can go to the laundromat. You can honor your ancestors by going to the laundromat and taking some change down there or some snacks for the kids and just giving them to the sisters there. Just, rolls of quarters, whatever, and just say, I was thinking about you today because I was thinking about my ancestors. I was thinking about how great it is that we are still here in numbers. Uh, after all this time and all these many situations that we have been through, even though, yours may not be, but there are plenty of people that are going through it. So that's just what I wanted to share today. I got a lot more pumpkins over here together. I got some honey garlic chicken in the Instapot, and I threw in some pickled watermelon in there with it. Pickled watermelon tasted pretty good. I figured to throw it right on in there with that, and I'm certain it's going to taste fabulous. Then I got some chicken in the air fryer. Going to do some rice, and we're going to have dinner tonight, maybe have some hot water cornbread, and just when my son come home, we just going to talk about, just take a few minutes and talk about grandma, and that's about the only ancestor of our bloodline that he knows. But we can also talk about his dad, who's on the other side, a little bit. But we're just going to just step into that energy. So, right here, ancestors waiting on you. Right here, ancestors waiting on you. Well, I'm right here, ancestors, and I'm waiting on you. Can't do nothing without you by my side. Can't do nothing without you as my guide. I hope that, you enjoyed this and you listened through it. I hope that you will like and subscribe to my channel because I got some other things that I'd like to share. I got some new tools and I love tools. So I'm fixing to go get me another Ryobi tool. It's Air Striker, but I got plenty in there, and got some wood to work with, and some other things. Got some things I'm gonna be planting. There's a lot to do when you're trying to do homesteading, and when you're out in the middle of the desert, and you having to fix the beds and do various different things. And I just want to encourage you. You don't have to be out in the middle of the desert to do this. I lived in apartments before. I lived in senior housing, and I lived in a tiny little town in Iowa as well. And you will figure out a way. Just talk to your ancestors. Just think about it. Just think about them and what they went through, or what they possibly went through. If you don't know for sure, you hear, so you know for sure that somebody went through something. Anyway, so I'm gonna push this button and stop this here, and I will see you another day.